Welcome to this explainer. All right, let's just dive right in. We're tackling that deeply personal, honestly kind of maddening feeling where you're moving so fast in your daily routine, but you never actually arrive anywhere. It's a sensation that doesn't really announce itself with a dramatic collapse or some big loud breakdown, right? Instead, it sneaks in quietly. It just sort of settles into your bones before you even realize what's happening. So we're going to look at the literal architecture of why you feel stuck and exactly how we can build your way out. You know the drill. You wake up, you answer your messages, you commute, you get through your day looking totally fine to the outside world. But underneath that highly functional exterior, there's this dull, heavy realization that your real goals, the stuff you actually care about, they're sitting completely untouched. It's literally like you're walking on a treadmill. You're burning all this energy, but you're staying in the exact same place. And then comes that quiet self-accusation. It creeps in when you realize your days and then your weeks are just blurring together with zero real progress. Why am I like this? Wow, that is a terrifying question to ask yourself in the mirror. You look at the calendar, you realize a whole year has passed, and your grand plans, yeah, they're still just plans written in a notebook, gathering dust. It's profoundly frustrating, isn't it? Feeling like every single step forward requires pushing through this invisible, dense wall of resistance. Meanwhile, you look around and see your peers, your colleagues, strangers on the internet, all making moves and growing. And that contrast, it almost always leads to intense self-blame. It convinces you that you're fundamentally broken or that you just lack the basic willpower everyone else somehow magically possesses.
So let's move into section 2. Stuckness is not resting.
Now, we've got to build this into a really crucial unlearning process. We have to start by differentiating what you're experiencing right now from actual rest. Because honestly, confusing the two is exactly what keeps you trapped in this endless cycle of guilt. Look, rest is a conscious choice. It carries permission, it replenishes you, and it is entirely guilt-free. Stuckness, that's an unwanted stillness. It's the heavy friction you feel when one part of you is desperately reaching forward, but your nervous system is actively slamming on the brakes. You're not resting, my friend. You're in a state of high-tension paralysis. Now, society might label this state as laziness or maybe a lack of discipline or even a moral failure. But I want to completely validate your experience right here, right now. You are not broken. Think about it. A truly lazy or unmotivated person feels perfectly content and numb, doing absolutely nothing. If you're feeling intense frustration and resistance right now, that is objective proof that a deep part of you still desires change and growth. Which brings us to section 3. Your brain on survival. If we want to permanently remove the shame from this whole experience, we need to strip away the emotion for a second and look at the objective neuroscience. Why does change currently feel so impossible for you? Well, it's not a character flaw. It's biology. Your brain just isn't built for your modern desire for fulfillment. It's built strictly for survival. For most of human history, the unknown meant a literal threat to your life. So your nervous system inherently interprets the unknown elements of growth, like starting a new career, a new project, a new habit, as a literal danger. It vastly prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar uncertainty. You can kind of think of your brain's threat detection center like a highly sensitive, totally ancient security system. When you try to change your life, you trip that alarm. And it completely overrides your logical planning center, putting you into a biological freeze state just to keep you safely predictable. So you see, you aren't lacking motivation. Your internal emergency brakes have literally been pulled. And compounding this ancient biological freeze is our modern environment. Modern life totally hijacks your neurochemistry. Fun fact here, scrolling social media can actually spike your dopamine levels to the same degree as gambling. Crazy, right? Because you can get these instant hits with zero effort, your brain is left completely depleted. You're suffering a massive dopamine deficit for the meaningful, long-term efforts that could actually get you unstuck.
All right, let's look at section 4, the weight of past attempts.
Because this stuckness didn't just fall out of the sky one Tuesday morning. It accumulated over time through these quiet, devastating lessons that your nervous system dutifully recorded every single time you tried to make a change. Maybe you applied for dozens of jobs and heard absolutely nothing back, or you enthusiastically started projects that just sort of slowly faded away. Each time, your body learned a really painful lesson. Actions don't change outcomes. And that creates what's called learned helplessness. It's a deeply wired belief that trying only leads to an emotional cost, which completely drains your energy before you even begin. I really want you to validate this heavy emotion for exactly what it is. This is a very real biological and psychological response to unseen, unrewarded efforts. Honestly, you are grieving the gap between the effort you put out into the world and the results you actually received. Recognizing it as grief rather than laziness, that is the absolute first step towards self-compassion. And to make matters even more exhausting, you're likely fighting a daily inner war known as cognitive dissonance. You know you're capable. You see yourself as an ambitious, driven person, but your daily actions, they consist of scrolling, delaying, avoiding. So to protect your identity from this incredibly painful mismatch, your mind steps in and rationalizes the delay. It tells you that you're just preparing or, waiting for the perfect moment. But here's the catch. The longer this massive gap between your identity and your reality remains, the more energy it actively drains right out of you. It takes a massive amount of subconscious calories to maintain those rationalizations. It turns your stuckness into this heavy toll you pay every single day, basically just to exist. Okay, Section 5, the gentle path forward. Let's dive right into the solution here. Knowing all this biology we just talked about, it becomes incredibly clear that you absolutely cannot force momentum through extreme discipline, strict schedules, or self-punishment, not when your system already feels threatened. Momentum only returns through safety, followed by movement. We've got to bypass the brain's overwhelm using low-friction strategies. A great way to kick this off? Implement 3 minor physical changes to your environment to signal a fresh start to your brain. You could clear off just one corner of your desk, change the lighting in your workspace, or simply open a window before you start. These little physical shifts really help reset that mental alarm system. And words matter deeply here too. I want you to set up a daily check-in using a very specific journaling prompt. Just write down, what triggered my low motion phase today? See what we did there? Renaming the experience from being stuck to a low motion phase signals to your threat detection center that this is just temporary. It immediately eases that freeze response by taking away the permanence of the label. Now, perfectionism, that keeps your nervous system frozen because perfection feels like a massive risk of failure. So you have to give yourself explicit permission to make B- efforts. I mean it. A poorly drawn stick figure is infinitely better than staring completely paralyzed at a blank canvas. Starting badly isn't a failure. It's a necessary, highly strategic tool to just get yourself back into motion without tripping your internal alarm system. So here is your 3-step method to actually escape the stillness. Remember the do something principle. Motivation always follows action, not the other way around. If you're an office worker feeling totally stagnant, here's a quick checklist of small daily tasks to minimize friction. Organize just one single folder on your desktop, draft literally just the subject line of an email, or read exactly one paragraph of a report. Choose one and execute it. Then keep a literal list of these small daily wins. By doing this, you are gently providing consistent evidence to your nervous system that your actions actually matter, and you're slowly building a daily habit loop that feels incredibly safe. And finally, Section 6, Stuckness is a threshold. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to fundamentally shift how you view this incredibly frustrating chapter of your life. Because this isn't the end of your story, it's a transition phase. I absolutely love this perspective. Feeling stuck is not a life sentence, it is a threshold. Think about it. This painful state only appears when an old version of your life, your routines, or your goals just doesn't fit who you're becoming anymore. But the new version hasn't fully taken shape yet. You are literally standing in the doorway. This pain, this friction you're feeling, it is not proof that you are falling behind everyone else. It is a demand from your own psyche for more alignment. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need the final destination or the big 5-year plan to move forward. You just need to navigate the immediate, tiny next step. So I'm going to leave you with this question to carry with you today. What is one small, completely imperfect step you can take today to build trust with your nervous system? Leave a comment below letting us know what part of this explainer resonated most heavily with you. Lower your expectations, make that B- effort, and take just one tiny, honest step today to bridge that threshold. Thank you so much for exploring this with me.